Hey everyone, this is going to be a short video to show you how to solve different types of percent problems using ratios. Just a few reminders. A percent represents a ratio of some number to 100. So for example, 15% means the ratio 15 to 100. A percent problem usually has three pieces. It has the part, it has the whole, and it has the percent. The problem will give you two pieces of information, and your job is to find the last piece, or the missing piece. So let's do a few examples. This first example says Mrs. Jones is buying a sweatshirt. The original price is $50, but there's a 15% off sale. What is the discount she will get? So I always start my percent problems by writing down the three parts that we just talked about. So there's always the part, the whole, and the percent. And then I look at my problem and see what do I know, and that will help me figure out what I need to find. So the easiest one is, you can see right here, it says there's a 15% off sale. So obviously 15 is the percent. The next value I see is the original price of $50, and we need to decide if that is the part or the whole. Since it's the original price, that means 50 is the whole. So we fill that in here, and that means we are looking for the part. We don't know it, so we have to figure it out. And the way we figure that out is by using equivalent ratios. The ratios that you want to set up always look like this: part to whole, percent to 100. And whatever you don't know, you just leave blank so you can figure it out. So the part we don't know, so we leave blank, and the whole is 50. The percent is 15, and 100 always goes here. So just to kind of recap, we used this to set up our ratio here. So we saw the part goes here, but we don't know it, so we left it blank. The whole was 50, which is why we wrote it here. The percent was 15, which is why we wrote it here. And then 100 is here because percents are always out of 100. Now what we need to do is to find what number we can put here to make this ratio of that number to 50 equivalent to the ratio of 15 to 100. We are finding equivalent ratios. And the way we do that is we look for a relationship between numbers that we already have. So for example, I right away see a relationship between 50 and 100. I know that I can do 50 times 2 and I get 100. So in order to make an equivalent ratio, we need to figure out what number multiplied by 2 would give us 15. And don't worry, even though 15 is odd, we can still find half of it. We can still find a number times 2 to get 15. It's just going to be a decimal, but that's no big deal. So we need to think, what number times 2 equals 15? Well, I know that 7 times 2 equals 14, right? So I know it's going to be 7, and then since 15 is just one more, we have to tack on a 0.5 to the end to get 15. So 7.5. So 7.5 times 2 equals 15, and 50 times 2 equals 100, which means that these are equivalent ratios. And now we have our answer, we have our part. So when the question says, what is the discount she will get? The discount she will get is $7.50. So in that problem, we found the part. That was what was missing, and that's what we found. Let's do another example. All right, here's our next example. It says, a student earned a grade of 80% on a math test. He got 16 problems correct. How many problems were on the test in all? So again, let's start by writing our part, our whole, and our percent. So again, I see this percent sign right away, which tells me that 80 is our percent. And the next value I see is 16. And now let's figure out if 16 is the part or the whole. So it says he got 16 problems correct. 16 problems correct. Not 16 problems in all, 16 correct, which means that 16 is the part, because that's not the total questions on the test. Those are just the questions he got right. He also got some wrong, which means we are looking for the whole. So now we rewrite our equivalent ratios from before: part, whole, percent, 100, and we fill in what we know. So we know that the part is 16. We don't know the whole. We do know the percent is 80. And percents are always out of 100. All right, so now doing what we did last time, we need to find what number should go here to make these two ratios equivalent. So 16 to what number would be equivalent to 80 out of 100? And again, we need to find a relationship. I do see a relationship here, and if you don't see it, you can always look at your multiplication chart, but I know that 16 times 5 gives me exactly 80. So that means the relationship needs to be the same on the other side. What number times 5 equals 100? And if you're stuck on that, you can think about what number times 5 would be 10 if we pretend that 0 is not here. Well, I know 2 times 5 equals 10, so if we put the 0 back, that means 20 times 5 would equal 100. So we can go ahead and fill in 20 as our whole. Now let's double check that these ratios are equivalent. So 16 times 5 is 80, 20 times 5 is 100. That means these are equivalent ratios. So when the question says how many problems were on the test in all, 20 questions were on the test in all. So in that problem, we found the whole. Now let's do one more example. This example says, Jordan got 45 out of 50 questions correct on his math test. What percent will he get for his grade? So again, we're going to write down our part, whole, and percent. Now, in this problem, I don't see a percent sign, so that makes me think that might be what I have to find, but let's double check. The two values I do see are 45 and 50. And he says he got 45 out of 50 questions correct, which means the part is 45 and the whole is 50, because that was the total number of questions on the test, which means we are finding the percent this time. So again, we're going to set up our part, whole, percent, 100 ratio. So let's see, our part was 45. Our whole was 50. We don't know the percent, but we do know percents are always out of 100. And again, we need to find a relationship here. Before I say it, think, do you see a relationship between any of these numbers? I see a relationship. I know that 50 times 2 is 100. So I'm going to write that relationship in right now. 50 times 2 is 100. So next, we need to do the same thing to the other side of our ratio. We need to do 45 times 2 to get our answer. You might need your multiplication chart for that. You might need to do it out on a piece of paper. I know this one is 45 times 2 equals 90. So when the question says, what percent will he get for his grade? He's going to get a 90% on his test. So for all these problems, what we did was we set up ratios and we found equivalent ratios, ways to make them equivalent to find either the part, the whole, or the percent. So All right, so let's wrap up. When solving percent problems, remember to use equivalent ratios. You can set up two ratios and find a way to make them equivalent. One ratio being the part to the whole, and one ratio being the percent to 100. Fill in what you know from the problem, and whatever's missing is what you need to find. And you can find that by finding a way with either multiplication or division to make the ratios equivalent. Good luck!